Hello and a warm welcome to Bury Church of England High School. My name's Mrs Astley and I'm the Deputy Head in charge of pastoral care at the school. As we have been unable to run our usual evening at this time, we've put together a number of videos for you to watch so that we can share with you all the information you need as your child moves to join us in Year 7 in September. Mr Guest, Head of Year 7, has, I know, already shared lots of information with you, including a virtual tour of the school and some work around transition. As a school, we are really looking forward to welcoming your families to Bury Church of England High School in September, and I hope this video will help you with this transition. I'm now going to hand over to the head teacher of the school, Mr Braithwaite.
Firstly, I'd like to thank you for choosing our school. We as a school feel very privileged that you've placed your trust in us to ensure that your child receives a first-class education. I want to welcome you and your families into our family and our school family and pray that together in partnership we enable your child to grow and develop, reaching their full potential. You will be my first Year 7s at Bury Church and therefore extra special to me. I've worked in many schools across the Northwest and have truly come home to a wonderful, warm and distinctively Christian community that is Bury Church. We have above national results, with 71% of our young people in our last set of results achieving the national benchmarks in maths and English. We have an ambitious curriculum, with 81% of children entered for the full EBAC compared to 40% nationally. But we keep the curriculum under constant review. We constantly look at the best ways to help your child achieve. We have excellent pastoral care, and Ofsted in 2020 said that staff have high expectations of pupil behaviour. The pupils we spoke to, they said that they feel safe in school and they get on well with one another. And that underpins our values as a school family. You have chosen to come to a school that offers a distinctive Christian education. And I'm going to share with you some of the quotes from our last science inspection. The school's stated intention to encourage pupils to believe, achieve, inspire drives the decisions that are made throughout the school so that pupils are academically and socially confident and spiritually mature. We make every decision in school based on the best we can possibly be for our young people. It also stated that governors, the head teacher, and all staff model Christian values in the decisions they make and the guidance that they provide. And that is something that you have chosen for your child. Adults and pupils create a caring school that is deeply rooted in the openly Christian ethos of its learning and worshipping community. And worship is at the very core of what we do as a school. And it also stipulates that religious education is very well led, academically successful, and enriches the lives of people and their understanding of religion beyond the classroom. And I would say that is one of the core reasons that you have chosen us, because of that distinctive nature of our school. Our motto is, "Let your light shine." We believe that it is our duty to give you the very best education during your time with us. We will, as a school, give you the opportunities during the 5 years to demonstrate your talents and skills, whether that be academic excellence, sporting brilliance, musical accomplishment, or any field that allows your individuality to shine through. And I hope that you achieve and have those highest dreams and aspirations, and we as a school commit to you to help you achieve those dreams as you go through your journey. We also offer you a values-driven education. And actually our values are believe, achieve, inspire. These mean a great deal to me and to all of our school community. We want you to believe in yourselves that you have the talent and character to make a true difference in this world, whilst holding those core values of compassion, kindness, and love. In terms of achievement, together, we will help you achieve the very best qualifications through a first-class teaching and an inclusive curriculum. And inspire, I want for all of you to inspire others through your achievements and your actions and letting your light shine. We were going to promise a number of things to you on your journey. We're going to inspire and transform the learning of young people through a broad and balanced curriculum underpinned by excellent teaching. We're going to meet the learning and social and emotional and physical needs of all of you as you go on your journey through us. We're going to embrace the latest technologies and develop new ways of teaching. And in 5 years' time, that might look very different than today because that world is moving at a rapid rate. And we are going to commit to providing you with a safe, happy, and innovative environment where change is embraced and learning is continuous. And we are a learning community. I believe that every child has the right to flourish in our school. We're not going to have any excuses. We're going to work together to be honest with each other. We have the highest expectations of you and of ourselves, and we will have that high challenge, but with no threat attached to it, to ensure that you get the best out of yourself. This is only achieved if we have really strong partnerships with parents, yourselves, church and school. And when those four elements come together, with the child at the very centre, we will achieve and actually secure the best outcomes for your child so that they grow in faith, character, and academic excellence. And as they move through their 5-year journey, you will get that support, that continuous wraparound care from us as a school. Finally, I want to say again that I welcome you again into our family as a school, and I look forward to you starting with us, and I'm excited to meet you all when you come in September. And as I said, you are my first year 7s here, so you are extra special to me. Thank you very much, and I look forward to September.
Hello, Year 6 parents and pupils. My name's Maria Brothers. I'm Deputy Head Teacher at Bury Church of England High School. And what I would like to do through this presentation is take you through a brief overview of learning, curriculum and assessment at Bury Church of England High School. This is the sort of information that would have been given at the Year 6 transition evening, but obviously we couldn't actually meet in person. So this is a condensed version of that presentation, just to give you some reassurance and to let you know what you can expect when you join us in September. The first thing to say is that you will have received information about Century Online Learning, and this is actually a tool that we've actually used in order to support our home learning programme throughout the period of lockdown. And we've used it with our maths students. And we're very aware that in being out of primary school in Year 6 for so long, that the practice of numeracy, literacy and other skills will not have been embedded in the way it would have done in the normal curriculum inside primary. So what we've given you access to over the summer holidays is a email already set up through Bury Church of England High School, and the opportunity for your child to complete some English, maths and science work. Also, we think it's really good to actually just keep those skills up to date. It's flexible. You can choose what you want to do and when you want to do it. And it also gives us a bit of an insight into how well you perform in those particular subjects. You may also have been given some English, maths and science work from your primary school to complete over the summer period. And again, you know, that would be an excellent thing to do in order to get you prepared for the academic transition into high school. One of the very first questions that's often in the mind of both parents and children when they join us in Year 7 is, what will September look like? What will the day look like? How will I learn? What sort of groups will I be in? Who will be my teachers? What subjects will I be studying? So the first thing I want to say is that how your child will be grouped will be in their form classes. So these are mixed ability form groups, and they are the classes in which your son or daughter will be being taught. It's our intention that Year 7 will stay in these classes until we have some externally assessed objective data, such as cognitive ability tests, progress tests in English, progress tests in maths, in order to create broadly similar ability groups or prior attainment groups. This is really important because, you know, this year is very different in that we don't have the Key Stage 2 SATs data. We do have coming to us primary teacher assessed data. But again, because of the broad number of feeder schools, we feel that it's important to have that objective data before we look at actually creating any sort of prior attaining groups. The other thing linked to that is that our timetable will allow for then maths and English to use the maths data and the English data in order to create their own ability banded groups. And then the other subjects will take an average of the maths and the English results in order to form those groupings. Then the other question is, what subjects will I be taught? So on the screen here, you can see the subjects that your son or daughter will study in Bury Church of England High School, and also the number of lessons that they will have in that subject per fortnight. Now that's an important thing in that we do run a 2-week timetable in order to facilitate the entire curriculum at our school across all year groups. We currently run a week A and a week B timetable, so that will require a little bit more organisation in terms of getting used to the difference between week A and week B and what books and things you need to bring into school for those days. So if you look, you can see that this really is a broad and balanced curriculum. It's a challenging curriculum. It's a curriculum which allows stretch and challenge both academically, but we believe passionately as well in access to subjects that allow expressive arts and allow creativity to flourish as well. So the other important thing with this is that in terms of well-being, you can see that we commit to 2 hours per week for PE, and personal health, social education is a lesson that is taught within the timetable, and that's very important for development and well-being of your child, dealing with age-appropriate issues as they progress through our school. The timetable is probably the most important document that your son or daughter is going to receive on their very first day at Bury Church of England High School. We also encourage them to download the app Show My Homework through the platform Satchel One, because that is also where there is a live version of the timetable for them to also refer to. The timetable is really important because, unlike in primary school where your son or daughter just goes into school and then the primary school delivers what they have planned to deliver, or they can change what they plan to deliver, this is set. And it's set in stone. So therefore it's really important that the night before they come to school, they check the timetable, they check have they got in their bag the books that they need, the kit that they need if they're doing PE, or any other specialist equipment, and also that having done lots of homework at home, possibly, that they've packed their pencil case full of their equipment, essential equipment, in order to complete their work on the following day. So the timetable is a really essential pre-bedtime read. The wider curriculum is extremely important for us here at Bury Church of England High School. We believe the curriculum is everything that we plan for your child to engage with. So it's the activities that are put on before school, it's within the timetable structure of the day and after the school day. We believe that the curriculum is not only just about timetabled lessons, that it's about developing personal characteristics. It's about developing the whole person, spiritual development, and so on. So it's a broad thing. I've attached onto this page the link to our Bury Church of England website, which gives a really good overview of the extracurricular clubs that we currently run, and we are always open to running other clubs that reflect the passions and the skills and the attributes of the pupils that join with us from year 7. Linking to the wider curriculum, right the way from year 7 all the way through to year 11, career information, advice and guidance is extremely important, as we want all of our children, and I know they're only just joining us in year 7, but we want them to leave with the very best qualifications that they can have, and that they've got everything that they need, including confidence to progress to the next stage of their career, whether that's in education, apprenticeship and so on. So that's a really important strand running through our curriculum. Linking to that as well, educational visits play a fundamental role in our curriculum. So we encourage teachers to use the local environment around us in order to explore key knowledge, key skills that link into our curriculum. We plan day visits for our pupils to visit, and we plan a number of residential visits, both domestic and abroad, in order to support the learning and the development of our pupils, because we really believe that it's our duty at Bury Church of England High School to put in place the things that enable your son or daughter to become the person that God intended you to be. So pupils who arrive to us as a secondary school with literacy or numeracy weaknesses, which are identified either through primary transition information or through diagnostic early testing, we will support your child in order to help their development by putting in place an intervention and a booster programme. It's really important for us to do that, because we want your son or your daughter in order to have the access to the full curriculum, but in a supportive way, but one in a way that challenges them. So we spend time both operating with inside the normal timetable, but also wrapped around at the start or the end of the day in order to provide some intervention and booster. As a result of this, you'll have noticed on the timetable French is part of our Key Stage 3 Year 7 curriculum, and we may in some instances withdraw children from studying a language originally in Year 7 in order to help boost the literacy and the numeracy, which will have an impact on full curriculum development. One of the questions parents often have, more so than the child, is how will I know how well my son or daughter is doing at Bury Church of England High School? Obviously, one of the main thing that parents want to know is my child happy, and are they doing what they should be doing? And so the wraparound pastoral support that goes into transition is crucial to that first one about happy. The wide-ranging curriculum is also to help with the question, are they happy? But we know that it's really important to give you information so that you know how well your son or daughter is doing. You may be aware, if you've got older children at secondary schools, that GCSEs are now being assessed using something called norm referencing. So it measures their success of a child compared to the other set of students who've completed their exams. And we've actually used that process in our Key Stage 3 model. of assessment. So normally on entry to Bury Church of England High School, we would take your child's Key Stage 2 English and Maths scores and allocate them to a quintile, as you can see in the top corner of this slide. They are allocated into a quintile for English, and they're allocated into a quintile for mathematics, and then we create an average quintile based on the average of the English and the maths for all other subjects. So due to the cancellations of SATs this summer, we will be using the cognitive ability tests, the progress tests in English and the progress tests in mathematics in order to identify the quintiles that your child will belong to. We will then, after every single assessment that is completed across the curriculum for each subject, your child will then be given a grade which is to indicate the quintile to which that assessment has fallen. So basically what's really important with this is that the quintile that they start off in is the quintile that they should end up in by the end of Key Stage 3. And if they remain in that quintile, then they will be making the progress that's expected of them throughout their time in years 7, 8 and 9. If they, say, start off in quintile B, end up in quintile A, then we know that they're working above expected progress. We also look at sub-levels within the quintiles to fine-tune just how much intervention we need to put in place if people seem to be dropping through the quintile. But it is really important that your son or your daughter, whichever quintile they come into school here with us, that they do stay in that quintile throughout the remainder of Bury Church of England High School Key Stage 3. And what you will get is you will get 2 reports. One is a mid-year report in February time, and then the end of the academic year you will have a full written report. And what the reports do is they give you a information sheet for every single subject that they study as part of our curriculum, and they give you a description of the curriculum, a description of each unit and the assessments, what they got, what quintile they were awarded for that assessment. And there will also be an indicator like the achievement box here of pluses and also minuses and equals, which help to interpret the data. And it's really good for seeing whether they are in line with what is expected of them. So in addition to the curriculum assessed quintiles, what we will do as a school every half term, we ask every teacher to give an attitude to learning statement, or an ATL, to every single pupil that they teach throughout the school, so in all year groups. It's not a judgment of ability or success academically. Instead, it's a judgment by the subject teacher of the approach that is taken by the pupil to their work. So if you look on the left-hand side of this slide, you can see the descriptors that are there. So we would expect every single student to be working at the good level descriptor. That is the level we expect to be relevant to most of our pupils, and that is the point from which your child should be aiming to achieve or to improve upon. So you can see that it ranges from exceptional attitude to learning in class and to their learning down to a significant improvement required. Again, we feel that this is a really important tool for us as a school and for you as parents in order to work out how engaged, how happy, how focused your child is. And it really does help us to identify early on if there are any issues, and similarly where there is good, consistently good, highly motivated, exceptional performance, to reward your son or daughter for that attitude to learning, because it's with a positive attitude that will lead to success in their learning at Bury Church of England High School. So communication is very important at Bury Church of England High School. The school website is the public face of the school. It has on it emergency messages. We also have social media, emailing and text messaging services to keep you informed with essential information about your son or daughter's experience here at Bury Church of England High School. But I've mentioned this before, Satchel 1, when your son or daughter joins us in September, you will be given log-on details for both yourself and for every single child. If you've already got an older sibling here, you will already have probably the app downloaded and already know that it's a really useful tool for encouraging independence, but also supporting your son or daughter get to grips with online learning, home learning, and the homework that needs to be done. It is also important because it gives you notifications and reminders, but we can also put messages on there, also details of sports fixtures and a number of different school events that you would get reminders to, because we push those notifications to every single year group. So when your son or daughter join with us in September, what's really important is when you get the information that you do download the Show My Homework app, because it is really useful with the notifications and the reminders in order to support your son or daughter in their independent learning here at Bury Church of England High School. So on the Year 6 transition parents' evening, I would spend a little bit of time thinking about why your support is essential to helping make this journey from primary to secondary school such a success. I've mentioned before timetable. Organisational skills are crucial to help your son or daughter adjust to moving from being a primary school child to a secondary school child. You want to give them enough support to help guide them, get organised with the timetable, the books, all the equipment they need, but aspire to making them independent. We would love you to encourage reading for pleasure, reading skills, and seeing that modelled at home, so that your son or daughter, our children here, have a love and a deep joy of reading for pleasure. Linking to that as well, the tea time conversation when they come home from school, what, do anything exciting today? In Year 7, they will go, yes, and they will tell you all about it. And when they become a teenager, that's when they'll go, no, we didn't do anything. But I think it's really important for them to know that you're interested in their learning and that it matters and that they feel valued. Linking to that as well, a number of students, when they study new subjects, and as you can see from the curriculum that we offer, there is a wide variety of subjects that we offer. If they get hooked into something, challenge them. If they love something, encourage them to read newspapers, to watch the news, to talk and discuss matters that link to it. They will love that in terms of developing their love of learning further. Helping them to resource them at home with equipment that they need, so that they do come from Year 7 with all that equipment. But at home, doing homework, I know that, sometimes resources can be in limited supply, but I think one of the things is getting into a routine, and actually so that they know that they've got their space and a place to work and to be organised with equipment. And I'm sure that through the period of lockdown, that's become something that will have probably developed into a routine, or will have been highlighted about that need for that space in order to get them to a place where they can work effectively in order to show the best of their knowledge and the best of their understanding as they complete homework. We want you to get them into good habits, so having that set time for working, having no distractions, mobiles away, TV off, so that they can give their best to their learning. We really want you to keep in contact with school. That, it goes without saying, the form tutor is the first point of contact. But if you do have any concerns or you want to tell us any information, please do get in touch with the form tutor as the first point of contact. And, you know, linking to all of that, we hope that your son or daughter will be able to become, through your support and through the input that we provide here at school, that they will become organised, that they will be able to concentrate, that they will become good listeners, they will have a joy of reading, and that they will become resilient young individuals who will thrive at our school. So as the last slide indicated, homeschool partnership is really fundamental. We need to work together, home, family, in order that your child experiences success, and success in every single sense of the word, not just academic success, but success in that they become the person that they were created to become, that they flourish, and that they can move on to the next stage of their education. So in terms of homeschool partnership, in Year 7, the form tutor is the main point of contact. We do have 2 consultation evenings throughout the year. We have a pastoral consultation evening early on in the academic year, and we also have an academic consultation evening where you will get the opportunity to meet your son or daughter's teachers. I've mentioned also that you have 2 reports on your child's progress, which gives lots of information about the curriculum, about the units, about the quintiles, about the attitudes to learning, and the end of year report has a full written comment from every class teacher and from your son or daughter's form tutor as well. Obviously, in this context of living with COVID-19, we are probably going to have to do things slightly differently, but we run engaging parents evenings where we give advice about a number of different issues to how you can support your child in their learning, but not only their learning, in their development. So we offer a number of sessions, including sessions on e-safety, so what you can do as a parent to protect your son or daughter whilst they're online, safeguarding, understanding the data and assessment here at Bury Church of England High School in more detail, supporting for how to support your child access the curriculum. We offer evenings to do with well-being and resilience and positive mental health, and we are really flexible. Where we see a demand in our school community, we will do our very best to source and support and outside speakers in order to support you, and as that triangle in the top right hand corner shows, that we work together to give the very best for our students, your son, your daughter, who you're entrusting with us here for their secondary phase of their education. So homeschool partnership is essential, and I really hope the time that we finally get to meet face to face, and the times where, you know, you are able to get the feedback from your child when they start with us in September, that you will see just how important that is to us, that we work together for the very best of your child. Thank you for watching this presentation and my accompanying narration. I hope you found it useful to giving you an overview of learning, curriculum and assessment here at Bury Church of England High School, especially for Year 7s as they join us in September. I know it's not the same as doing it face to face and being able to take questions and answer sessions, but I hope you found it useful. And really all that remains to be said is that we cannot wait to be able to open our doors in September and to welcome your child as a member of our Bury Church of England family. So until then, God bless and stay safe, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Hi Year 6 parents and guardians. First of all, I really hope this video finds you and your child or children and your families safe and well during this really challenging time for us all. If you're not aware, my name is Mr. Guest. I'm head of Year 7 at Bury Church, and I've been doing transition and overseeing transition now for quite a number of years, so I often refer to myself as the resident expert. So I have got a lot of experience in this field. And the first thing that I would like to start with, and I come back to it a number of times in the slides, is I really want to reassure you and reassure the Year 6s that we work really, really hard at Bury Church in order to make you and your child or children feel safe and secure in that move to high school. I'm going to work my way through the PowerPoint slides that I would normally give on our Year 6 evening. Unfortunately, that has been cancelled due to the current pandemic and restrictions we have in school. And we're trying to recreate that through video format in order to give as much information as possible. If after all of these videos you're still unsure as to anything that might be happening in September, please don't hesitate to contact me via email. My email address is on the PowerPoint slide and I'll get onto that soon. So moving on to the first slide. Reassurance. As I've just said, I think the thing that I want to kind of instill in you and instill in your child or children is our transition is seen by parents. We look at getting your feedback in October every year, and the feedback we always get is that the transition process has gone really, really well for the vast majority of our children. We're really proud of our transition. We're really proud of the school environment we've got at Bury Church. So it's really important to start off and say, things will be fine. 99.9% of pupils, by the time we get to Christmas, are very, very settled in school. This year we've got additional challenges. The pandemic, the closure of our school and primary schools, obviously has added more complexity and more challenge. However, we've welcomed our Year 10s back in recent weeks, and as soon as they've got back into the routine of being back in school, and some of the Year 6 pupils will have found this as well, young people are resilient and very quickly go back to being how they always were. So please don't worry, we are working as hard as we possibly can. Meet the Year team. So I'm head of Year 7, as I've mentioned, and I oversee a range of staff, primarily for you and for your child. The main pastoral support you will receive at high school is through your form tutor. This year, as every year, we've got a range of wonderful form tutors, some who have been with us less time and some who are very, very experienced and been with us for a long, long time. So we've got Mrs. McMaster, we've got Miss Brooke, Miss Devaney, Mr. Pilkington, Mrs. Green and Mrs. Rogers, and they will all be form tutors in September. I will mention later on, I have said to the Year 6s in a video to them, you don't actually find out the form tutor until September, and that's what we've always done. That's not due to the pandemic, that's how we always communicate to the young people. The form groups, moving on to the next slide, and mixed ability. So when we're choosing your form groups, we do not take into account academic levels at all. It doesn't figure at all. Our form groups are based on a number of different factors, which I'll talk about in a second. But I want to reassure you that it's not anything to do with the academic side. They will be placed in academic groups, and Mrs. Brothers, as our deputy head who oversees the curriculum and teaching and learning, she will communicate the groupings to you at a later stage. Form groups, so like I said, mixed ability. Every year we have children that come on their own from primary schools, and we try our best to ensure that we match up them children with other children of the same gender, maybe from the same area as well, if we can do that. So that's one of the things we take into account. We also take into account a range of other things. I've talked to you already, or I've certainly talked to the Year 6s about pack types, and I was very, very impressed with the amount of responses we got back for the pack type activities. So we use that to kind of have a nice balance of different pack types. We use transition forms from primary schools. Every year your Year 6 teacher, or sometimes the transition leads at primary school maybe, communicate to us a range of information about the young people. And this year is no different. We've still had that communication. And we follow the guidance from primary schools. Sometimes they're aware of friendship issues, positive or negative, that have happened at primary school, and they advise us sometimes of people who might be better together or better separated when they join us. And we also take on board guidance from the Learning Support Department as well, specifically in regards to SEND needs with that. But that also informs what we're doing. If your child is joining us from a feeder school where they're on their own, or there's only 1, 2 or 3 maybe, we try to keep them pupils together where possible. That does change sometimes. If there's guidance from a primary teacher, that a pupil would benefit being in a form entirely on their own, or if a parent communicates that the child wants to start afresh, not with anybody from primary schools, we sometimes separate, but generally speaking, if there's between 1 and 3, we do keep them together. If it's a bigger feeder primary school, of maybe 4 or 5 upwards, and every year we do have a handful, we don't have many schools like that, but we do have a handful where pupils are coming from us from slightly bigger feeder schools. We then try and separate them. We don't want one form being dominated by one particular primary school, because I don't think that's good for the transition of the people from that primary school and for other pupils as well. I think it's better to enable friendships to develop and grow across different form groups. So we do separate them if there's more than 4 or 5. The separation is based sometimes on gender, it's based upon pack types, it's also based upon any information we may have received from the primary schools as well. And they may go between 2 or 3 different primary school, different form groups. Moving on to the next slide, the year team. So we have a small, dedicated, hard-working pastoral team, and since I've been at Bury Church, and I've been there many, many years now, our pastoral department has always had very, very good comments from Ofsted when they've been in and visited us over a number of years, and we're very proud of our pastoral team. We're headed by Mrs. Astley, who's the deputy in charge of care, support and guidance. She oversees strategically the entire team. Underneath that, we then have a number of different members of staff. We've got Mr. Batty, who's our lead practitioner. He's in charge of behaviour and safeguarding on a day-to-day basis. Mrs. Dixon is the lower school leader, and she oversees year 7, 8 and 9. Then we've got Miss Roberts, who looks after the health of our young people, and she oversees the healthcare of pupils at school. We've got Mrs. Howard, who works in the office. She primarily does admin, but the young people might see her when they're getting badges, or sometimes if I'm having a meeting with a child, she might be taking notes, so they might be familiar with Mrs. Howard. Mr. Cowling and Mr. Keller, both pastoral workers that do a range of roles within school, and one of them roles is they do look at mentoring of year 7s who maybe struggle to settle a little bit. And then we've got Mrs. Wildman and Mrs. Wilson, who are in the Department for Learning Support. Them 2 colleagues are the ones who will be in touch with you more frequently if your child has got some form of SEND need that we're aware of within school. Moving on to my next slide, transition and worries that your young people may have. And it always makes me smile having a picture of Grange Hill up on there, because I'm of a generation where I watched Grange Hill avidly when I was at primary school. It wasn't year 6 at the time, it was junior 3, junior 4, and at that period of time I was really scared about joining high school, and every year when I show this slide and I look around at the parents and the guardians, I get a nodding smile, because actually we've all been there, but most of us can remember, even if you're pushing 40, most of us can remember that first day at high school and the nerves and the anxiety we felt, even if we had lots of friends. So what our young people are worried about now are the things that we were worried about. And through doing this role over a number of years and meeting lots and lots of year 6s at primary schools, and then speaking to them in September and speaking to parents and guardians, the ones that I've listed on the slides, detentions, getting lost, homework, making friends, and older pupils, they tend to be the same things that come up time and time again. And that was repeated in the question and answers that the year 6s sent to me via the forms in the last couple of weeks. So to kind of reassure you, I've put at the bottom parental feedback as a positive. As I said previously in the video, actually most of our pupils, most of the time, make a wonderful transition. Parents are really happy with the transition, and many of them, by October, November, parents and pupils are saying how settled them young people are. Detentions is not something to overly worry about. When they do join us in September each year, we are very aware that the young people might not know our rules and our expectations. We work very hard in the first term, trying to educate them in what we call the Bury Church way, what we expect of pupils joining our high school. And it's not about punishment, it's about rewarding them for doing the good things and educating them if they need to change the behaviours somehow. Getting lost, I've had lots of questions this year about getting lost, as I do every year. We're a very small high school, Bury Church. We have 850 to 900 pupils. The school site, compared to many high schools, is actually a very small school site. And in the first couple of weeks, they're likely to get lost. They're likely to be a little bit late to lessons, but teachers are aware of that and won't be strict and won't be upset about a little bit of lateness to lesson the first couple of weeks. We do provide a map for the young people. And on top of that, our older pupils, and I've put a note there, our older pupils genuinely are very, very sweet natured. Every year I find it outstanding how wonderful our young people are and how caring they are. And if a year 7 is a little bit upset and a little bit lost, there is always somebody, every time I've seen it, there's somebody, an older pupil, who will take them under the wing and get them to the right place. Homework, and actually academic studies more generally, when they transition to us at high school, they've been working very, very hard in year 6 to a very, very high level, and they will be used to having homework, they will be used to being pushed academically in line with their ability, and that continues in year 7. It's not a huge step up. We don't expect them to be doing year 11 kind of independent work immediately. So I would reassure them with homework and learning more generally that it just continues from what they were doing in year 6. Making friends is a big one for our young people. We have often anywhere between 45 to 50 up to 65 different feeder primary schools every year for just over 160 places. So 60 into 160, we're looking at less than 3 people per primary school. So most of our pupils come from feeders where they're on their own or they're in small groups of 1, 2, maybe 3. What that means is, actually when they join us in September, there's not large groups of well-established friendships. Most of our pupils join only knowing 1 or 2 people. That means that everybody is in the same boat and therefore everybody is looking to make new friends. So actually, the vast majority of the time, the young people do make friends very, very quickly. And the older pupils, I've already said, and it sounds like a public relations kind of message when I say to people, the pupils at our school are wonderful. But I don't just say it to parents, and I don't just say it to the young people at school that you're wonderful, but actually with my friends, with people I meet outside of school, often people say, what job are you doing? I'm a teacher. What level? High school? And then they roll their eyes and go, I couldn't do that. And I always reply, to be honest, I'm really blessed to be in a school with wonderful young people, very thoughtful, very kind, mature young people. So I would say to year 6s not to worry. They are big. Some of the boys in year 11 are as tall as me, or if not taller, but they're lovely young people, so don't worry too much. Moving on to my experience of issues with transition. So as a head of year 7, the kind of major issues that I have dealt with over this last 5, 6, maybe 7 years are up on the PowerPoint. One is transient friendship groups for some. It's really important as parents and guardians that you're aware that in year 7, actually throughout high school, but particularly in year 7, friendship groups are very transient for some of the people. They might join with a friend that they had at primary school, and very quickly, sometimes them friendships might break down because one or both have started to mix with other people who are more similar to them. So sometimes we see friendships from primary school break down relatively quickly. But also, the young people might start a friendship with somebody in their class or in their form group, and then as the weeks and the months progress, they might realise that actually this person isn't quite like me, or we don't share as many interests as I thought, and then friendships maybe fizzle out a little bit, and then people get other friendships as well. So I wouldn't worry too much if your young year 7 pupil is coming home saying, I'm not really friends with that person anymore, I'm moving to this group of friends. That's very natural. Independence, so high school versus primary. I actually think year 6s generally join us, and they are used to being very independent at primary school. They do lots of jobs for the teachers, they know the school very well, they know the systems very well. When they first join us at high school and everything's very new, they seem to regress a little bit year 7s and actually lose a little bit that confidence and that kind of independence that they had at primary school. So that's something we do kind of see in that first half half a term. But often they grow in confidence in the environment, and then through the confidence in the environment, they become more independent as a result of that as well. But also, it's important to note with independence that they begin to mix with much older pupils. They might not be friends with them, but they start to see them at breaks, on lunchtimes, around school, and that can influence behaviour. So because they're starting to want to feel a little bit more grown up, the pupils do kind of adapt and change to that. Not in a negative way, but maybe their experiences at school and what they're hearing might influence the kinds of programs they want to watch, the music they listen to, and that is part of them becoming independent. Resilience, I think one of the things that I talk about a lot with Year 7s is trying to build up an element of resilience. So if you've fallen out with a friend, to be resilient, to be polite and kind, but to be resilient and to be able to kind of move away from that. And also I think there's a real distinction between, I've been asked a lot about bullying again this year, because that is something pupils are often very worried about. And there's very much a distinction between two friends falling out and somebody being persistently unkind and bullying in their behaviour. And if friends fall out, I think what we try and teach them in Year 7 is a little bit of resilience to be able to take things in the stride a little bit as much as possible. Social expectations, I put Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok has obviously become a very big social media platform in recent months, years maybe. And the young people sometimes feel they have to step up to a certain type of behaviour because that's what they're seeing on social media, either by their peers or by influencers, social media influencers, bloggers or vloggers that they follow. So it's really important to raise with you as parents, just to kind of be on top of how your young person is using their phone and how they're interacting on social media. I'm not suggesting you should snoop on their phones by any stretch, but just have a general awareness of how they're using their phones. Because I think over a number of years, the social media aspect of young people's lives, that's the place where we find lots of challenges for young people because they can't really escape it. So just to kind of put that out there for you as well. I've put hormones, which links into what I was saying about independence and resilience. If this is your eldest child, and I have these conversations every year, if it's your eldest child, Year 7, Year 8, they go through a lot of hormonal changes and the behaviours change at home, the behaviours change at school, they might become more withdrawn, a little bit more sullen, a little bit more argumentative, but that's part of the natural development of teenagers. You know, it often reminds me, I should have a picture up on the slides of Harry Enfield when he comes down as a teenager on his 13th birthday and everything's changed overnight, and we kind of see that as pupils kind of develop in Year 7, Year 8, and they do become much more hormonal and the behaviours do change as a result. And this year I've added an extra one and put socialisation and COVID-related issues. The pandemic and the impact that's had on all of us and our ways of working, our mental health, our emotional well-being, it is obviously something we need to look at as a school as to how best to support not just the Year 6s joining us in September, but actually our whole school community, and that includes our teachers and our colleagues as well. We've got to ensure that in September we are putting into place things that support all of our young people as they are transitioning back into mainstream full-time education, which obviously since March has been something that's been lacking for them. So that is something that is going to present issues, I imagine, for us at high school. And then we will adapt and put in place supportive measures as best as we can. And to finally finish, reassurance. And I've got a big cross against Grange Hill. Bury Church is not Grange Hill. It is a lovely, lovely school. I did my teacher training at Bury Church quite a number of years ago. It was my first block, and then I went to a school in Oldham where I live. And I was desperate for a job at Bury Church. And that's because I loved it then, and I continue to love working at Bury Church. We have our issues sometimes. Sometimes the young people do fall out. Sometimes there is conflict. That is natural in any environment. However, it is a lovely, lovely school to be in. And when we have external visitors, we are consistently reminded by the comments that we get from external visitors. I've been lucky enough to go on a number of school trips, both locally, nationally and internationally, with pupils from our school. And we get lots of comments wherever we go about the behaviour and nature of our young people. So just want to reassure you really that your child is, or your children are joining a wonderful high school with very strong morals and a very strong Christian ethos and a very caring environment. So please rest assured that they will be fine with us. How will we help your child settle when they join us at Bury Church? Usually we go out and visit primary schools, both myself and colleagues, will go out and meet the young people and talk to them and reassure them and ask them if they've got any questions of us. But this year we've been unable to do that. So I've replicated that in a video that is being sent out at the moment, where I'm answering questions that was submitted. We've obviously missed our 2 Year 6 induction days as well. One of them induction days, we spend most of the day testing them. The second induction day is the day where we do a little bit of pack type work, and they get to meet some of the form teachers. They wouldn't know it was the form tutor, but they get to meet some of the staff and do some kind of team building friendship exercises as well. So I've tried to recreate that by doing the pack type work with you remotely at home, and been sending letters and videos to you as best as I can to try and recreate our provision. At the moment, a letter has gone out by our head teacher, Mr. Braithwaite, and we're expecting on Wednesday the 2nd of September, which is our first day of term, we're expecting a relatively normal return, that pupils will come back and join us for a normal school day, normal timings will apply with relatively normal catering experience. Obviously, this video is being recorded early July, and the situation changes daily and weekly, so things may change between now and September, but at the moment we're expecting that the young people will join us on the 2nd of September. If things go ahead as they normally would do, that very first day will be an induction day. So on that day, the young people will get to meet the form teacher, learn what form group they're in, and then they will do lots of exciting, I hope they feel it, exciting tasks to get to know people within their form and to start to build friendships. After that, we are looking at if we can put in more support before the pupils go straight into academic lessons, but certainly at least the very first day in September will be a day where they're not doing lessons. Following that, we've got a peer mentor system. Year 10 students, the current Year 9, Year 10 students have to apply for a role to become peer mentors, and my experience of peer mentors over the last 3 or 4 years is they work extremely hard at supporting the young people. They take the role very, very seriously. If I'm like the work dad for the Year 6s going into Year 7, and form tutors are like the work mum or dad, the peer mentors are like the older brother or older sister who can give them guidance, but more of an equal footing, more a level that the young people are often more comfortable talking with. So often if the Year 7s have issues, they will talk to the peer mentors about what's going on, and the peer mentors are able to support them. The Year 7s with the peer mentors, I feel, often will go to them and talk to them about things that maybe they're a little bit more apprehensive about talking to us as teaching colleagues about, and I think it's a really strong system we have. This year, we've just had our head boy, head girl and deputy head boy, head girls announced, and many of them pupils that are now senior leaders within Year 11, they were all in my peer mentor system last year. So it kind of shows you the calibre of pupils who apply to become peer mentors. Another way we support young people is Mr. Cowling. Each year we'll do mentoring sessions with a small group of pupils. Sometimes we'll put pupils together. So last year we had 3 boys who were coming from a similar area, from different primary schools, and all 3 were struggling to settle. So we had a session with all 3 together where they would meet every week, and that helped forge friendships between them, and Mr. Cowling was able to guide them and to support them in coming to high school. And sometimes it might be more appropriate to have individual one-to-one sessions, but we do use Mr. Cowling a lot in that first term to do mentoring sessions. Enhanced transition program. If you've got older siblings in high school, they will have had or been part of our enhanced transition program. Usually in the third week of September, we have 2 days of timetable where the young people in Year 7 go to the Lowry Theatre, and at the Lowry Theatre they would complete a variety of creative tasks that are looking at transition and also looking at teamwork and friendship, and it's a really creative, lovely day. And then on the other day, the pupils go to a place called Challenge for Change, which is a high rope centre. It's an indoor high rope centre, and that's very much focused on teamwork and enabling them to kind of work with each other's strengths and weaknesses and encourage each other to complete different tasks. Later in the year, we usually would then also visit the theatre and have a cultural experience where we watch something at the theatre. That was all booked prior to lockdown, and that was something we were going ahead with in the end of September. But due to everything that's happened, we've looked to rearrange that, and we'll have to let you know in the future what dates they are looking at. We're hoping maybe in March time, but again, we're having to work closer with the Lowry, with the Challenge for Change, who are the providers, in order to look at when best to offer that. But it is something that will happen, but it's just now going to have to be postponed until later in the academic year. Moving on to the next slide, awarding success. I'm not going to go through each of the bullet points that are up on the PowerPoint slide, but I just want to emphasise to you really that our young people are wonderful, and I think as a high school, one of the things we really want to do is continue to celebrate what these young people achieve both in school, for school as extracurricular activities, and also things that they do outside of school. We've recently had a world champion at kickboxing in our school. We've had some very, very gifted athletes come through school over the years, and we want to kind of celebrate all of that together and really award that success. So up on the slide are a number of ways we'll do that, and as the year progresses, we'll communicate them to you. Absences. It's just really important just to very quickly talk to you about our absence procedure, just in order so when you join us in September, you're very aware of it. If your child is ill on any particular day, it's really important that you phone into the main office and you let us know that your child won't be attending, and let us know that they're poorly. Please don't email form tutors. Form tutors will communicate with you via email, but they are teaching members of staff, and often in the morning may not have opportunity to pick up that email. So therefore, if you email and you've not contacted the office, school might not necessarily have seen that message until later in the day. So it's really important you give a call to school. We have, moving on to the next point, we have a first response system at school. If your child has not arrived at school, we run a report immediately after the registers close at 9:20. And then we make contact with each home to let them know that the child has not arrived in school. And that's everybody through from Year 7 all the way through to Year 11. That's to ensure that the pupils are safeguarded on the way into school. So therefore, if your child's ill and you've kept them at home and you've not contacted school, we would then make a phone call home to you. So it's really helpful for us, for our small school staff to have that information at hand. That will then be kept on file as well, and the form tutor will be made aware of that. We only do a first response call on the first day of absence. So if your child is off for 3 days, we wouldn't make a call on the second day because you've already phoned to say that they're poorly. So we wouldn't repeatedly call you every single day. On the return to school, it's really important that the pupil brings a signed letter, a handwritten letter into school that's signed, because we put that on file and we keep that on file again, just to ensure that we're safeguarding the children to the best that we can. How do we deal with pupil illness in school? So our take really at school is, if you've decided to send your child in the morning, that you as parents and guardians have deemed that they're well enough to be in school at the point of leaving the family home. So therefore, we do try our best to keep the young people in school using our professional judgment. If they have been sick, we're not going to fight to keep them in, but we do try our best to encourage young people to stay in school unless they are presented as being particularly poorly. In the first instance, pupils will go and see the form tutor if they feel poorly. The reason for that is the form tutors work with the young people day in, day out, know the families well, and might know of any circumstance that might be leading to the young person wanting to go home that might not be illness. So we ask that the young people speak to the form tutors in the first instance. If the form tutor is unavailable, or if there's been some form of accident, Miss Roberts might deal with it immediately rather than the form tutor. Once the young person has seen Miss Roberts or the form tutor, we then arrange for the school office to give you a call at home and to arrange for some form of collection. It's really important we follow that process. And it's important for me as a head of year to reinforce to the Year 7s not to contact parents and ask to be collected before speaking to the form tutor. And the reason for that is it's for us to be able to ensure that we know where the pupils are and how safe they are, and to ensure that they are poorly enough to go home, and that we're working in tandem with you as parents. Often, if a pupil contacts a parent and the parent turns up at the office, if school don't know it, then it does take quite a long time to track down the pupil and arrange for them to be taken out of lessons. So, absolutely, where possible, the young people should communicate with the form tutor. Obviously, if they're texting or phoning home at breaks or lunchtime to say, I feel poorly, mum, or I feel poorly, dad, will it be possible to come home? That's absolutely fine. But if they do speak to you at breaks or lunchtimes, please can you ask them to go and see the form tutor as well. Leave of absence, if you're aware of an absence coming up, so it's not that the young person is poorly, but actually that you've got something coming up as a family, or the young person's got something. So examples might be medical appointments, filming. We have a lot of young people who are involved in different drama activities where they go filming. It might be a religious celebration, funerals, things like that. If there's an absence that you know is going to happen in the future, we have a purple leave of absence form. So please could you ask your child to collect one of them from the office. That comes home, you complete it to the best of your ability, and then that comes into Mr. Braithwaite, and he looks at it to see if school can give it as an authorised absence or whether it's an unauthorised absence, and then we contact home to let you know about that. Moving on to key expectations. So this is very, very basic key expectations, just generically across school. Individual subjects at different points might have different expectations regarding equipment. But for me, when I talk to the Year 7s, when they first joined us in September, I said to them, the first thing you need to do is ensure that you are ready for your learning by bringing your correct equipment. So pen, pencil, ruler at the absolute least. You might want a dictionary or a thesaurus with you. You might, in maths or ICT, technology will require different bits of equipment as well for subject-specific lessons. So make sure that the equipment is right is the key message for the Year 7s for me. We also promote reading with what we call drop everything and read, where they'll be expected to read for 10 to 15 minutes during the day in given lessons. So it's important to have a reading book with them, and that's a physical reading book rather than an electronic device. You kind of encourage young people to be reading actual books. And the last one, I think is probably the most important one, is to try your best to get involved in activities in school. We have lots of different things going on with sports activities, sports teams activities. We've got clubs that run at lunch times and after school. Getting involved in school council as well might be something they wish to do. And the reason why I think that is particularly important for Year 7s is it's a great way to make friends, being involved in different clubs, societies, activities, and meeting people of a like mind. So particularly if you're young person, if your child or children are struggling to settle, one of the first things I would really encourage you is getting involved in some of the activities outside of lesson. I'm not going to go through a completely online acceptable use agreement and GDPR, but it is really important that you're aware that pupils, when they join us, do sign an acceptable user agreement. And that's just said that they're going to use the school ICT systems correctly and that they use it maturely and appropriately. And in regards to GDPR, you will have had information in the pupil information pack that comes home, and you'll have let us know your preferences in regards to GDPR. That changes as they progress through school. So when they get a little bit older, young people actually can let us know their own preferences. But in year 7, that is for you as parents and guardians to decide what the preferences should be. It's also really important because each year I get questions about if there's been some kind of incident with 2 young people or more. It's really important you understand that due to GDPR, we only ever discuss your own child with you. So if there's a situation there's more than one pupil, I would only ever tell you what we're doing to support your young child, rather than what's happened with the other people as well. And that's just through protection through GDPR. How do you know they're doing okay in lessons, and how do I know if there's a problem with my child? As the year progresses, I'll move over this relatively quickly, but it's really important to flag with you some key moments in year 7. The first one is a pastoral parents' evening, which is the form tutors are all off timetable on an afternoon, mid-October usually, and that's an informal discussion for 10 minutes or so about how that young person is settling in pastorally. So how are they doing generally? It's an opportunity for you to meet the form tutor, for you to share any concerns or any achievements that have happened so far, and to start to build that relationship between the young person, the form tutor, and you as a parent or guardian. And I think it's a really lovely afternoon. I'm also available, and Mrs. Dixon's available that afternoon as well, in order for you to have a chat with us if there's anything that's pressing or that you wish to discuss. The dates at the moment, we are just finalising our calendar due to the pandemic. We've not got a finalised calendar yet, but as soon as it is finalised, that will be sent out to you as parents and you'll be aware of the date, but it's usually mid-October. Throughout the year, your young person or young people will attend informal reviews with their form tutor during assembly time, and this is an opportunity for the pupils to kind of open up and talk about how they're doing in school, set themselves targets as to what they may wish to achieve. For year 7s, particularly when they first join us, it's primarily to make friends, to learn about the school systems. But as the year progresses, if there's issues with friendships or settling in, or there might be issues with getting homework done or organisation, that's where the form tutor can provide some adult teacher guidance on how best to deal with whatever the situation might be. If there's any concerns raised in an informal review, we would be in touch with you as well to discuss that, and that might be via email, or we might invite you in for a meeting. School contacts you regularly with academic progression. We've, in the last couple of years, developed a system that is very comprehensive, telling you where your child is at academically, and that comes out periodically through the year, so that's something as well. There's a full consultation evening later in the year, usually in April. Again, the calendar isn't completed yet, and the consultation evening is the evening where you can talk about the kind of academic progression that the year 7s are making. The reason why year 7s are the latest one, so they're the last one in the academic year, is to give us opportunity to really get to know them young people and give them opportunity to shine, for us to do a range of assessments over the first 2 terms and really understand how well they're developing, and then towards the latter part of the year, we can then have a discussion with you about what they may need to address ready for year 8. That isn't to say if there are any issues academically, that either if you're feeling there are any issues or your child or children are feeling there are any issues, you can always contact me and we can have a meeting or a discussion about that. And equally, if there are issues presenting in school for us, we would contact you before that consultation evening. So the consultation evening is a general one, but if there is anything worrying us before, then we will be in touch. Who does my child talk to if there is a problem? Almost always the first port of call for both you and for the year 7s is the form teacher. Each day, the year 7s will register with the form teacher in the morning and in the afternoon, and they have a lot of contact with them. And the form tutor gets to know them really well, and it's lovely seeing that relationship develop over the first couple of months. We have got such lovely, caring colleagues at school who really go over and above to support the young people. So in the first instance, if your child is struggling with something in school, normally the best person to talk to will be the form tutor, and then they can give the young person guidance as to maybe how best to resolve it. If it's something we need to do as a school, the form tutor might action it themselves, or they might communicate it to me for me to look into. But usually the form tutor, and that equally for you as parents and guardians, if you've got concerns with the young person in school, usually it'd be the form tutor first that you would contact as well. In situations where the child doesn't want to talk to the form tutor, the peer mentors are a wonderful resource. So often they will go and talk to the peer mentors and talk to them about things that they may be embarrassed to talk to a teacher about, or want to talk to somebody who's a little bit more on their level. So there are peer mentors as well. The peer mentors have been trained as well, and they're very aware that if there's any kind of safeguarding issue, they're aware of when to pass information on to members of staff, and whether it's okay for them just to kind of give advice themselves and not refer it to a member of staff. And then on top of that, there's myself and Mrs. Dixon, who are also available. I'm a teaching head of year, so I'm not always available all day, every day. Mrs. Dixon is a non-teaching colleague, so she is available during the daytime, during lesson time as well, if there's something that's urgent and pressing to talk to. For you, who do you contact? As I've just said, your main contact really in school should be the form teacher, who you will find out in September. They can normally deal with most issues. If it's beyond their remit as a form tutor, they will normally direct you either to a head of department or a class teacher, or through to myself. So depending on what the issue is that you're raising, the form tutor will forward that on to the appropriate member of staff in school, and that member of staff might respond to you. The form tutors are just there as the first point of contact. I normally only become involved in issues in school and communications with parents if there's a specific issue that the form tutors can't deal with, or if it's more of an ongoing support issue where I've been involved with you as a family for whatever reason that might be. But generally speaking, it should be the form tutor first. There are a number of other people who might be in touch with you in school. From a pastoral perspective, we've got Mrs. Dixon, who's head of lower school, as she's a non-teaching head of year and head of lower school as well. She might be in touch with you. If there's something immediate and pressing, she might phone you on my behalf. We've also got Mr. Batty, who's our lead practitioner. He also works alongside Mrs. Astley with safeguarding, so he might be in touch with you. And also our deputy head who oversees the pastoral team is Mrs. Astley, and sometimes, less frequently than the rest of us, but sometimes she might be in touch with you directly. And alongside that, Mr. Cowling, Mr. Kell, Miss Roberts may also speak to you as well. For me personally, you may receive letters home from me as a way of communicating. Often, because I'm a teaching head of year and I've got 165-ish pupils to look after, the quickest way to communicate often is a letter. So if it's something that I don't feel needs necessarily a full discussion, I might send a letter home just to inform you of something that's happened in school and how I've actioned that, or a concern that's been raised. If you do receive a letter and you do wish to discuss it, of course, you're always more than welcome to contact me via telephone or via email to have a talk through that. Due to my teacher commitments, it's often much easier though to communicate with me via email. So that's why I do tend to send letters home and do communicate via email as well, because it's easier for me to get to email at breaks or lunch times rather than getting out to the staff room to make a phone call. So email is the best way to communicate with me. It's going to come up at the end, but my email address is p.guest, GUEST, @burychurch.bury.sch.uk, but it will come up on the screen towards the end of my presentation. Two things from Miss Roberts. Lockers, I've been asked a number of times about lockers already. We only have, unfortunately, limited locker space. Our access to the lockers may have to change as well due to the pandemic, and at the moment I can't give you information on that, but generally speaking, each year normally the second week of September, the lockers are released, and we operate ultimately on a first come, first served basis. So Miss Roberts will say the lockers will be available from tomorrow if you wish to bring in a deposit, and then the pupils find Miss Roberts and it's first come, first served, because we don't always have enough lockers for everybody who wants them in year 7 or any year group. If they do miss out on getting a locker, they then go on to a waiting list, and usually by the latter part of the first term, most pupils who really need or really want a locker have had a locker given to them. But sometimes people do have to go without. So with that, I would ask that if your young person wishes to have a locker, just have a conversation with them about how necessary it is and how much they really want it, because for some people it's really necessary, and other people they end up actually not really needing to use it. And another one is just to draw your attention really to lost property. This is an issue we have at school and have had for a long time, that young people often leave kit behind, PE kits in bags on the floor. When they go to PE, they might leave some of the school uniform, a blazer or a tie. So we do have an issue with lots of lost property each year being accumulated in school. It's really important, we feel, that you just put, maybe just using a Sharpie or a permanent marker, just the initials and maybe the year group on the labels of internally on rucksacks, on shirts, trousers, blazers, kilts, ties, just so if it does get lost, it makes it much easier for us to try and get that stuff back to the young person. Miss Roberts each year does work really hard with the year 7s trying to track down lost property if they have lost anything. We very, very rarely have anything stolen in school. I can't think of the last time something was stolen. So, often if trainers go missing, it's trainers normally very expensive rucksacks or coats that you may have spent quite a lot of money on as a family. They often turn up weeks and weeks later and they've just been left somewhere. But please do ensure that you've got each of the labels kind of put down with the initials of the young person. And linked to that as well in PE, just to make you aware as well, anything of value, the PE department at the beginning of lesson asks for pupils to hand that in, and they keep that safe in the PE office, locked away. So again, it's really important just to say that whilst they're in PE, because the changing rooms aren't locked during the PE lesson, and some people can come and go in them PE rooms, that it's really important that if there's anything of value, money, mobile phones, that they leave it for safekeeping with the PE staff. Uniform, just to draw your attention to two things really that every year cause a little bit of confusion, a little bit of turmoil at the beginning of September. One is earrings. It's really important and for me to remind you that if your young person is getting their ears pierced, for them to do it at the beginning of the summer holidays so that they're healed and well, so that when they start with us in September, that they don't have to wear earrings, because we have a no earring policy for health and safety reasons at school. I appreciate this year, due to the lockdown, I believe that I think beauty parlours are opening up in the next week or so, but that has to be a conversation for you at home. If you can't get in to get the young person's ears pierced until later on in the summer holidays, it would probably be better to wait until they're in summer of going into year 8. And also with shoes as well, please do look at our guidelines about our footwear policy. And lots of retailers market shoes or trainers to parents that don't fit with our uniform policy. And often parents will buy something because it's marketed as a school shoe, when in fact it's not covered under our uniform policy. So I have put up on the slide the direct link on our website to the uniform policy. So please do have a look at that and ensure that the footwear is in line with our expectations at school. And then it's just to finish really with the email addresses of myself, Mrs. Dixon and Mr. Batty. You may wish to contact myself. In the first instance before September, I would be a general contact, so please email myself if you've got any questions or queries or concerns. Mrs. Dixon, one of her roles is she oversees looked after children, and she goes to a variety of different meetings with external providers, different service providers. So you might be in touch with Mrs. Dixon over the coming weeks or months for specific circumstances as well, so her email's there. And I've included Mr. Batty's because he oversees and works alongside Mrs. Astley with any safeguarding issues. So if there's anything of a safeguarding nature that you're concerned about before September, please do email Mr. Batty, and then from September, Form Tutors will be available too on their emails from September. I hope this video has been useful. I'm sorry I've talked for quite a long time, but there's quite a lot of information to give to you. That does cover almost everything, but if there is anything that you are worried about, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me via email. And I really look forward to welcoming all the Year 6s into our school in September as Year 7s. It's my favourite, genuinely my favourite part of my whole school year is that first day when I see a sea of faces that are mixed with trepidation and excitement. It's lovely because actually when we watch them grow and leave us in at the end of Year 11, it's a real honour to be stood there and to be welcoming them into such a lovely school. So I do wish you all well over the summer break. I very much look forward to working with you as parents and guardians, and I very much look forward to working with the young people as well. I can't say it enough. Please be reassured that we are working really hard during a very difficult time to ensure that our transition is as smooth as possible, and it normally goes really, really well. So take good care, get in touch if you need to do, and I will see you in September. Thank you.